Welcome to an exciting journey into the world of auctions. We will navigate the legal intricacies, explore digital innovations, delve into the economic impact, uncover hidden treasures, and ensure your confidence with consumer protection. So whether you're a seasoned pro or a curious newcomer, this is your backstage pass to the voice of auction.
Gentlemen, what are the fundamental betting strategies?
Well, thanks, Lufuna. As times have changed, traditionally auctions, you just go to an auction, you are in front of the auctioneer, you place your bids, you get accepted, and that's it. But times have changed. You'll find because of the advent of the digital age, people are able to place their bids online. So that can be done as well. You can do it online. And if you can't necessarily make it to the venue like you could in the past, we have your proxy bids or your commission bids, where you place in your bid and someone bids on your behalf. So those are basically the three types of bidding strategies that anyone can employ if they want to buy at an auction. And yeah, I don't know, Steph, should I add on that?
Charles, I think the fundamental thing for people going to an auction normally is that, they tend to attend an auction to buy a bargain. I mean, it's been one of those historical things that people attend an auction to try and get a bargain. And I think people's strategies is to come to an auction and buy something for slightly less than they would normally pay for. And I think some of the strategies that people, entail when they come to auction is to be quite hard on the auctioneer himself, is to drive the price lower as much as they can. On a normal auction, an auctioneer will open a bid at 1,000 Rand, and the buyer on the floor will then tend to come in slightly lower, come in at 500 or even come in at 100. Some people that's slightly cheaper. So they're trying to drive down the price, and I think that's some of the strategies people on specifically a live auction attend to come and attend to buy something and pay slightly less than they normally do.
Well, Charles, you spoke about proxy bid. I mean, just give a bit of a definition on what is a proxy bid.
So basically, on a proxy bid, you're not able to attend the auction in person or on the day or at the venue. So you got someone to bid on your behalf. Okay. So all you're doing is signing off authority to say they can bid on my behalf to a certain amount, and it's signed off. You're registered like everyone else, and you are able to participate in the auction. So we do recognize you as a live buyer because you have submitted your documentation and you've said, for instance, like Steven said, I'm able to go up to 1,000 Rand, and you do your FICA documents, and then your your chosen person or your nominated person can bid up to that amount on your behalf.
Okay.
Yes.
Next question is quite long. Are there different strategies for bidding on items of varying value, rarity, or significance? How do these strategies differ?
Yeah, I think, Lufuna, the rarer item, the more special it is, the more hard to come by an item is. And I think auctions is one of those facilities where people do sell a lot of rare items. And I think from a buyer's perspective, they would look for auctions where there's items that's not really available. We would look for those items on auctions. And a buyer's would hope for getting his hands on an item like that first of all. So the rarer the item, the more expensive the item normally is. Auction is a very good facilitator to get the best price for a rare item. And I think from a buyer's perspective, once again, is to try and get his hands on a rare item, but also to try and get it at the best price possible. So I do believe that there is different strategies from an auctioneer's perspective to get the best value for a rare item or expensive item, or from a buyer's perspective to just get his hands on a rare item. So different ways of bidding. A lot of buyers tend to come out very quickly out of the blocks, would open on a really big opening bid. And some buyers will be slightly slow out of the blocks by forcing the price slightly lower than the auctioneer wants. But luckily the process of auction is that drives the price up. The more people attend an auction, the rarer an item, the more competition and competitive nature of people will be on the auction. So, and normally when there's more competitive buyers on a live auction specifically, you must remember a live auction is an emotional roller coaster. It is an emotional buy for a lot of people. And if we're talking about, significantly rare items and expensive items, there's usually a lot of competition on an auction for items like that, and that brings out, top dollar on some of these auctions.
Yes. Well, just before we go on, obviously, in terms of strategy, Steph has spoken of rare items, of different kind of assets.
Yes.
I'll just give you two distinct examples where you can find a strategy on buyers and auctioneers alike. If you're buying repossessed vehicles, you find you get dealers coming to buy those vehicles.
100%.
These guys have done their homework, so they'll come with clipboards. They know what their budgets are.
Yeah.
They're not coming here to spend R1 million if he's got 500,000. And then if you're selling salvage vehicles, it's more end users and panel beaters and guys who want to fix vehicles. So your type of clientele will change as well. So your strategy does change. And then you flip the coin. If you're going to buy jewelry, instead of having 100 people on the auction, you could have 10 people. But these are people who know their stuff from 1748 to what kind of silver, to what kind of ornamental items they want. So it's a more relaxed kind of auction where the bidding isn't necessarily as aggressive or the prices aren't as rushed, but because they're high value, if you ask them for 100,000, the guys will slowly put their hand up at 100,000 because they understand the value. Whereas if it's a more common kind of asset, you can start at 1,000, and Steph is saying it's less aggressive. It's adrenaline, and it's rushed because people want to make a decision there and then. They're not sure of the sentimental value of the item. So those kind of strategies, you need to understand them and do your homework and understand what it is that you're buying, and also what goes with the viewing and all the historical nature of the product.
So you just clearly touched on just a bit of what I was about to ask you after this is the timing. The timing of you playing the auction bidding. Are there specific moments during an auction when certain strategies are more effective or not? As a buyer.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. I'll
Not an auctioneer like you guys are. As a buyer, when does that come in whole?
Well, timing is very important. It is when you give away something to the auctioneer that you are really interested in an item. From a buyer's perspective, you're trying to hold all your cards close to your chest, which is very important. The auctioneer on the other side is trying to figure out what is in your deck. So I think the timing for certain buyers, depending on value of items, is also very important. Some buyers would tend to very quickly, very aggressively bid very strongly to potentially chase away participating buyers that's also competing for the same item. And some buyers will wait until the last minute, until the auctioneer might call once, twice, third and final call, and then might jump in right at the last minute, which is also a form.
Jake there. While you explain that, I just also need you to also explain the psychological factors that the bidders should consider. So give me the buyer's concept and give me also the bidder's concept. Charles, all of you guys, just give me that. It must just not be one-sided. Sorry to interrupt.
No problem. So once again, psychology from a bidder's perspective is, as I was saying, is that some people have different ways of buying items. Some will be very aggressive and some will be slightly, wait until the last minute to interject their bid and to maybe scare off potential buyers or the highest bidder at that one point of time. So it's quite important for, depending on your strategy right at the beginning as a buyer, when you want to interject the way you want to buy this item. And I think the psychology behind it is depending on your personality. Are you that kind of person that's going to be very loud on a live auction, who's going to stamp his authority, like all the buyers around him know that I'm here and I'm buying it? You'll get some buyers that will pump their chest and say this item is mine, or you'll be someone hiding in a corner and just progressively raise the paddle, raise their hand. And I think that's different psychologies that plays a role on a live auction.
Charles?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked the question about from the buyer's perspective in terms of timing. But I think the timing is and the strategy is determined primarily by what the buyer hopes to do with that asset. Some people, like Steve said, some people will be loud because they just want to. They are traders. They want to buy the item and sell it off. So they're hoping to buy the lowest kind of price. And then some people are buying because of the kind of sentimental value or the family tradition. If my family is doing furniture, I think it's called Queen Anne or whatever kind of ball and claw tables, that's all I want to go and buy, and that's all I want to stock. Or maybe I've got an old traditional shop where I sell these kind of items.
Vintage.
So my timing for this, I'm buying on behalf of people, or I'm buying to stock up my shop, or I'm just buying because I feel I can make money because I've bought a good bargain. So your timing, again, is also, like I said, and your strategy goes hand in hand with what you're going to do with the end product. If you're going to keep it, you don't mind to pay an extra so much. But if you're going to sell it off, like Steve said, you're going to try and squeeze the auctioneer as low as possible to increase your margin when you do sell it going forward.
As you're saying this, guys, just there's something called a ring, live auction.
Yes.
I just need to know, as you guys, Steph, Charles, how do you deal with the ring? I mean, you get into auction and the buyers have set up that ring, they're not going to go higher. And we go back to the previous question of psychologically, how do you deal with that?
Well, I think from an auctioneer's perspective, I think, talking about 15, 20 years ago, a ring, and for the listeners just to explain what a ring is, it's when buyers come together before an auction and decide, we'll buy these items together and we'll share it afterwards. And then we'll keep the price low that we don't bid against each other for the same items. And it's a ring. So from an auctioneer's perspective, the first point would be to pick up the ring. After a few years of experience, you know your customers when they arrive, and if you keep your eye on them on viewing days, you can see who your people is who might possibly form a ring. I think you need to stop a ring on a live auction right at the beginning. You need to do it, you can do it out loud in front of everybody, which is normally the way I do it. I stop it there so everybody can hear and understand. Some auctioneers will switch off the mic and go to the ring and ask them not to do it. So I would say the most important thing about a ring, it is still out there. There is still people that practice, those kind of on live auctions. But from an auctioneer's perspective is to pick it up very quickly and to stop it very quickly and briefly, and to explain to people that it's unfair towards the rest of the buyers and also the seller from a perspective, trying to get the best value for selling an item for a seller, and they are preventing it by forming a ring.
Charles?
Yeah, it's a very interesting question, and how to stop or how to kind of interject with the rings. But I think one of the attributes that an auctioneer should have is kind of like command and control of your sale. Obviously, one of the ways, personally, what I would probably suggest or try and go about is in your terms and conditions, you explain to them that you, the auctioneer, have got the right to control the bidding increments. What that does, when you control the bid increments, if you're on 10,000, you're looking for 5,000 extra, it stops your bid spotters or your ringmen from asking for 2.5. So you tell them straight, I'm not asking for 2.5. And if a guy does ask for 2.5, you carry on with the auction. You state your 10 and you say not 2.5. Because that's how you determine the rings. And after time, you'll start to see, like Stephen said, you know your clients, you know your customers, and you can see these guys are asking for 2.5, but they will take the 5. So once you've identified that, and they know the auctioneer has got authority and control without being arrogant of the sale, then they tend to, you command a lot more respect. And with time, if you've got a junior auctioneer, people will take a chance. But as the auctioneer gets to more senior role, what you say to them and how you address them, it's a respect kind of element. So the ring people, the ring leaders per se, or the ring members won't take a chance if they see that there's control and there's authority from the auctioneer from the start. And like Steven said, from the auction, you explain to them, and even of splitting of invoices, where the guys want to buy once and split invoices, all those kind of little ideas that they have. I've done it at so-and-so's auction. No, this doesn't happen here. We don't split invoices. You pay for the item and you stick by your auction conditions or your conditions of sale. And that's just one of the ways you actually deal with these rings.
Okay, no, you've in that instance, like I would wanna ask, how do you, as a professional, approach a maximum bid for an item? Are there any technique determining the bid of a ceiling where somebody's not overspending?
Well, not sure if you're asking from a buyer or from an auctioneer.
Well, I mean, from what I'm asking right now, I just want you guys to take it from a buyer.
Yes.
Obviously, from a buyer, they want to spend less. From a seller, as an auctioneer, you want to make more. So I just want you guys to just give me that.
Yeah, I'll
insight.
take that. Obviously, before an auction happens, you all given the opportunity to view the auction. And we take it that you view the auction, you've done your homework.
Yes.
This couch is worth 5,000. You go in there, that's your budget as a buyer. Okay? I, the auctioneer, we might not be necessarily qualified valuers, but based on historical data and historical information, we have sold these previously for 7,000 without I stand to be corrected. So when the auction does start, I've got that figure in my head. So it's not necessarily where you start, it's where you finish. I'm hoping to finish at the 7,000. But on the day, if I finish at 3,000, it is what it is. Because auctions, in my view, are the most fairest platform to sell. You get the right price of the item on the day based on what the market is determining. So you, the buyer, if you come in and your budget is 5,000, try to stick to your budget because there are other costs incurred. You've got your buyer's premium, you've got your VAT applicable on certain assets. So always factor those kind of things in. So if you've got 5,000 to spend, work backwards to 3,000 so that those costs are factored in and you go within budget. If you go over, you are liable to pay those extra costs.
Okay.
So the auctioneer has no limit, if your hand is up as a first-time buyer, there's nothing stopping me as an auctioneer from taking a bid from you and from you and from you, and we go way above value. You get instances where you're looking for 1 million and you go up to 2 million. That's what the market is determining because that asset is in demand. But you as a buyer, if your budget is 1 million, by all means stick within your budget to avoid unnecessary complications at the end of the day.
I think, Charles, you're 100% right touching the point where, from a buyer's perspective, if you're a first-time buyer, it's very important to, give them assistance by saying, if we're talking about your 7,000 Rand couch and we're already at 20,000 Rand for that couch, is to not try and get too much out of your newcomer buyers, but to explain to them that there is a value of an item, because you might end up them not getting to pay for that couch if they overspend or overpay. So, I think from an auctioneer's perspective, also advising people what kind of value there is on items, specifically on viewing days, when people do their homework, to advise them what values is for certain items, and also to guide them going along. So, it's not always the best thing to get the max out of buyers because they might default at the end of the day. But yeah, from an auctioneer's perspective, we are trying to get maximum, and buyers try to, get the minimum out of an item.
No, 100%. So that's where obviously now it touches to the next question where I have to ask you, are there any instances where a person with a low bid or high bid is more advantageous to a buyer when they start at a low? And obviously you've got your reserve price per se.
I always believe from a, as I say, from a buyer, if I want to buy an item, I want to come in as low as possible. An auctioneer will open a bid. There will be an opening bid stance where they'll open with a specific amount. The buyer will normally try and come in lower. It is the auctioneer's discretion to take a lower bid or a higher bid. From my personal experience, I enjoy starting slightly lower, getting more involvement on a live auction. The more involvement you have on a live auction, the more the emotion starts building and the more the excitement starts building. I enjoy, we call it counting a lot. I will start lower and do my chanting and counting a lot faster to get to a specific price, which get more involvement from your live bidders. So from a buyer's, starting low, from an auctioneer's, running a lot more bids, getting more people involved, that's more or less where I will stand.
Yes, very true, Steph. It all touches on what I said earlier on, an auctioneer's style or chart. The more frequent people come to a certain auctioneer's sales, they understand how he sells. his chant, and they also respect how he sells. So Steph is saying he enjoys counting. They know if Steph starts at 10,000, in no time he'll be at 20 because he goes very quickly from 10 to half, 11 to half, kind of thing. Whereas, let's say me, for instance, if I'm new to that space, they haven't really come into my comfort zone, I might be a bit slower. So I might not necessarily start as low as Steph is saying. I need to start within reason for my reserve price so that we don't waste the people's time, we don't bore them. Because remember, on auction, your job is to entertain these people. You're taking their money. So you have to keep them on the ball all the time and not get them bored. So by doing so, they enjoy hearing him sing, and I'm saying, let me achieve this and get the sale done, which isn't probably the right way to do it, but a job has to be done at the end of the day. So there's not really an advantage or disadvantage. I mean, the only advantage is if you get it as low as possible. And like one of my senior colleagues always said, you only know you've done your job correctly if both parties are upset. Where the buyer's paid more than he expected, and the seller has accepted a reserve of less than he expected. So if those two parties are upset, the auctioneer can smile. You've closed the sale and you've gone, he's done the job. So the advantages come in many ways. If I get a bargain, I get a rare piece of item and at a bargain, that's my advantage. But the disadvantage is if I'm not sure what this chair is worth and I overpaid 3-4 times the retail value, then that's a disadvantage. So you just need to look at it both ways, the viewing, the homework, and are you understanding the auction process as per se.
Okay. On that note, I just need you guys to just explain the reserve price, for a layman.
Well, he's the fundi.
For a layman, what is reserve?
So reserve price is set on a specific item as an estimated value and a price that needs to be reached on an auction sale before an item will be accepted or sold. So a reserve price is a value attached to it, might be by a valuer, attorney, liquidator, bank, or auctioneer that sets a limit that must be reached. If the specific reserve price is not reached, the item will not be sold on the day of auction. And as I say, that reserve price is the minimum value that needs to be reached on an auction day.
Okay. So what advice can you offer bidders for maintaining composure and making strategic decisions under the pressure of a live auction environment?
Yeah,
Emotions.
yes, definitely. I've had a lot of those. You get, like I said, different kind of buyers. So you get emotional purchase, you get a first-time buyer, and you get a seasoned buyer. Those are the three that come to mind. Emotional purchase, what I mean, a person will come maybe with his family, his wife, and she seems to like that lounge suite, and she keeps pushing him. And this guy ends up buying over and above because of that emotional kind of thing, and he doesn't lose it. And you get your first-time buyer who's not too sure what's happening. And because the auction is going so fast and he's scared to lose it, he keeps bidding, and he's not aware of the other costs associated with the purchase. And then you got your seasoned buyer who will stick to their number. If they go to 10, that's it. They will go, and usually you see them at an auction, they'll bid, they get to the number, and they walk away. You know him by name, you call him by name, you call him out, he walks away.
So they're more
That's the seasoned buyers. They know how the process works, and that's how much it is.
educated buyers.
They're educated buyers, really are. So, yeah, like I'm saying, your seasonal, your educated buyer, your first time, and your emotional purchase. Emotional purchase as well could be a case of, because the adrenaline is rushing, Steph did say some guy will hit his chest because he wants the people to see that I bought that thing, I bought that asset. So it's more of a, punching your weight or kind of like flexing your wallet.
I think some buyers might, even at the start of an auction, pay excessively high, that people will, see him as a buyer who's got lots of money and will just overspend and not, allow other people to bid against them. And that's sometimes one of their bidding strategies, is to show people, I will buy all of this. Then towards the end, people will stop bidding against them. It's, also one of the things that some of the buyers, tend to use.
Like manipulation, where
Yep,
you
absolutely.
set your tone and say, I am here whenever you get to auction.
Yes, like,
Nobody's bidding against you.
yeah, what Steph is saying, I think in short, if I as an individual, I'm known for paying expensively for furniture. The moment I walk into an auction house, people are now
Nobody
scared.
bids.
No,
Yeah.
Charles is here. The price is going to be high today. and they all kind of fizzle out and they walk away. So I've got my way.
Auctioneer's happy that Charles is here.
But ideally, Charles is here, they're happy that I'm here. But what I've done, they have manipulated the auction. I'm not controlling it because everyone's walked away, my 10 is deemed as too expensive because I'm paying a lot.
Yeah.
They now think it's probably worth 5. If Charles is paying 10, it's now worth 5.
So in the long run, you might actually not pay as much as you
Exactly.
paid
Yeah,
in the
because it's not
beginning,
competitive. It's not competitive. I'm actually bullying the system. So yeah, those are all things to look at as a buyer, not to be intimidated necessarily, but also to be wary of what is the real value of the asset.
Steph, Charles, thank you again for making time to chat with me.
Thank you, Lufuna.
Thank you.
No, thanks for it's a pleasure.